Welcome! Welcome everyone to Totally Doctorate, the medical channel run by totally real doctors. I, your host, Tom Ado, will be explaining ADHD. As a surgeon myself, I have no idea what happens in the brain. That's why I invited 4 professionals to help enlighten our wonderful viewers about this very interesting topic. Our first expert in the field, a worldwide genius known by all, it's none other than Mr. John P. He managed to liberate a whole 28 seconds of his packed schedule just to tell us how his intriguing condition was discovered. Can you believe it? We're just so important that we have words of wisdom from this genius just for you guys.
How ADHD was discovered. In 1798, a Scottish doctor, Sir Alexander Crichton, noticed some people were easily distracted and unable to focus on their activities the way others could. He reported that these symptoms began early in life. That's consistent with what we now call attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD.
That was a wonderful speech. Thank you for your time, Mr. John P. Our next expert is a known psychologist. He is extremely proficient in his subject. He's known for knowing literally everything about symptoms. That's right, we're talking about Mr. J. Neutron. Please, tell us about those symptoms.
We are now at the part of the major characteristics, aka symptoms. There are 12 major symptoms, like the inability to focus, an impatient behavior, self-focused behavior, emotional outburst, difficulty remaining still, problems playing quietly, or staying quiet for too long periods of time, leaving unfinished tasks, like a wandering mind, interruptions while in conversation, mistakes, mostly careless or lazy mistakes, avoiding difficult tasks, and there are also patterns of long period of daydreaming and long periods of forgetfulness. Now for the progression of the disorder, there is a poor self-esteem, or you often struggle in school, with academic failure and judgment by other kids being a primary issue, an ascension in the number of injuries, trouble interacting with adults and peers, have increased risk for alcohol, drug abuse, and other delinquent kinds of behavior. Now do remember that it doesn't mean you have ADHD, that you will be affected by all of these conditions. For example, I have ADD, which is ADHD without the H. And I don't have trouble interacting with my peers, but I did go to the hospital more times than I have fingers on my hand.
Our next guest will explain the medical diagnosis of ADHD. Right after our sponsors, of course! Have you ever had a disease you need cured? Look no further. Super Anti-Everything is here. The pill that cures everything. It works like magic. Look at our happy customers. Side effects may include. And so we return to our broadcast. Mr. Chris P. Bacon, tell us that diagnosis.
For the medical diagnosis of ADHD, most of the time it will be done by a psychiatrist for both children and adults. However, for children, it might be done by a pediatrician, which is a specialist in children's health. Or it might be done by an appropriately qualified healthcare professional with training and expertise in the diagnosis of ADHD. For the reference in the area, it will really depend on what age you are and what is available in the local area. There are no simple tests to determine if you have the disorder. However, the assessment from the specialist for a kid may include a physical exam and or a series of interviews. For adults, it is mostly a series of interviews since it is harder to diagnose since they already have some of the symptoms. Causes of the ADHD disorder. First, there are no real causes to this disorder, but only factors that might influence its development. First, there is the lower level of activity in the parts of the brain that control attention and activity levels. Second, there is the genes and heredity. ADHD often runs through families. So, children with this disorder have a 1 in 4 chance of having a parent with the same mental disorder that passes on to its children. A significant head injury. In some very rare cases, it can cause ADHD. Also, there is prenatal exposure. So, alcohol or nicotine from smoking can up the risk of developing ADHD.
Great execution, Chris. On to you, Mr. Caesar Salad? I can't believe that's his real name. Tell us about those treatments.
The recommendations for ADHD treatment indicate multimodal approaches including pharmacotherapy and psychosocial interventions as the most effective. First-line medications for the treatment of ADHD are stimulants, methylphenidate, mixed amphetamine salts, and amphetamine derivatives, lisdexamfetamine and dextroamphetamine. Second-line medication are atomoxetine, tricyclic antidepressants, bupropion, and alpha agonists. As an ADHD person, I take ADHD meds, and I don't remember the name on top of my head. Standard treatments for ADHD in adults typically involve medication, education, skills, training, and psychological counseling. For example, medication can vary from stimulants to other types of medication. Another one for treatments for ADHD is working on relationship and time management. It is easier for adults with said disease to forget appointment and time of related events, like a birthday or a job interview or a doctor's appointment. So working on those can help treat the disease.
And that concludes this broadcast. I hope you learned something new. Tom Ado, out.